Hi, Mara. Welcome to the first ever Conquer podcast show. How does it feel to be the very first guest on the show?
Well, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Is it? Well, that's not
Yeah,
the
it is.
intent. We're excited to have you here. Today we've got Mara Ream from Why I Budget, and we are very excited to talk to her today. We're very excited to hear your story, Mara. We've been talking about doing a podcast for, I don't know, how long has it been? 6 months we've been talking about this?
It's been a few months, so it's kind of exciting. It's kind of like the kickoff of everything. It's kind of
It
fun.
is. We've been talking about it, and I've been anxious to have this conversation. So, how's everything going for you today?
Well, it's hot, for sure.
Hot? Yeah.
Hot.
What?
But everything's good. I think jumping right into why I budget has been kind of fun and scary all at once.
Yeah. So what got you into it in the first place? What made you decide to create Why I Budget?
Well, you and I have worked together now for a couple of years,
We
and
have.
as you know,
Yes.
you've been in the bankruptcy world with me,
Right?
and we see a lot of families that are in financial stress. And once a family's in financial stress, it causes all sorts of problems, health issues, marital issues. I mean, just a lot of issues can come from the body being stressed, the family being stressed. So that is the motivating factor for why I budget.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. I couldn't agree more. And I felt the same way the whole time I was in bankruptcy, seeing people come in, and I mean, you could see it on their faces. And every time I brought in a new client, I asked them, how are you doing today? How are things going? And probably 10 times out of 10, they would say that they were doing horribly, or life was terrible, or, they felt like their world was caving in around them. And, they were negative, and it was sad to see that situation.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And families are falling apart because of their financial world.
yeah, exactly. Well, can you tell us a little bit about Why I Budget? What exactly is it?
So Why I Budget is designed as a bunch of e-courses, but our main goal by the time they're done with the e-courses is to have them well on their road to financial freedom. We first start with their why factor. What's their why? Why do you want to become financially free? It's kind of like anything else you do in life. Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to go on vacation? What's your why? What's your driving force behind it? Usually when you can attach your why to something, your outcome is it has a bigger success factor.
Sure.
And so we really dig deep into what motivates people and their why. And then the second course goes into what you were just saying, the negative belief system. What's their money patterns that they run inside their mind constantly? What do they tell their kids? What do they tell themselves? What do they tell other people? Just kind of trying to change the vibration that they're setting off with money, and teaching them that money actually is a source, it is a tool for them, and it's not a negative tool in their life.
Okay. I love it. Can I go back a little bit and ask, so what is the why that you are typically seeing? What's your why? What is your client's why?
What's my why?
Yeah.
My why, I always tell people, it was my biggest struggle, but it also has been a great relief for me to figure it out, because my why is that I want to be so financially successful. I just want a rodeo. You can
Okay.
figure that about me.
All right.
You're looking
Perfect.
for me. You're
That's
like, where's
great.
Mara? She's on her horse. So my why has to do with rodeo. I just want a rodeo.
And why rodeo? What do you gain from rodeo?
We rodeo together as a family. So
Okay.
my oldest is 19, my youngest is 7, and it keeps us together as a family. We also ranch, and so between rodeo and ranching, we're all together all the time, and it builds a strong family bond. And so we rodeo and play, and we ranch and work. And so our family motto here is work hard, play harder.
That's awesome. work hard, play
So,
together, and grow as a family unit. That's
yeah,
great. I love it.
right,
That's awesome.
yeah,
So all of your family is into ranching, and all of your family is into rodeo, and
yep.
you guys find happiness, camaraderie, peace. Um, you grow
We
together.
all do.
No peace.
We grow together. And so, and it's kind of the same way, when you're looking at any family dynamic. If you're winning, you're winning together. If you're losing, you're losing together.
Sure.
So no matter what your why is, your why is very personal to you, but it also affects everybody around you.
Sure. Okay. So what are you finding the why is for the majority of your clients? Is it pretty, does it vary across the board, or?
No, it's I want to be out of debt. I can't handle the financial pressure anymore. I need to be out of debt. They cannot handle the pressure of debt anymore.
Okay. And why is it that people want to relieve themselves from the burden or the stress or pressure of debt? What is it that makes people want to get out of debt?
The majority that I have been seeing lately is the pressure it is bringing upon marriages.
Really?
The lack of communication. It's kind of like a big white elephant in the room.
Uh-huh.
There's money problems and nobody's talking about it.
Sure.
And so when we can uncover the why to how they're going to go forward together, then they're able to start looking at their money belief system together and how they were raised. I mean, if you even look at my situation, I come from, my dad was a railroader, so money was never really an issue at my house. Like, there was always money. My husband came from a ranching family out of the Depression.
Oh, wow.
Can you see the two different dynamics of what we brought in together into a marriage? So my thought was, oh, there's always enough. And his thought process was, there's never enough.
Sure.
And so I was a spender, and he was like freaking out over everything I spend.
Right.
And then until we were able to join, our work, and, we've been married 19 years this year. And it's just barely we're figuring out our patterns, our ancestral money patterns together.
So how did that come about? How long did it take for you guys to recognize that you both came from completely different financial dynamics, and how long did it take you to recognize that you wanted to try to kind of narrow that together and try to be on the same page?
Well, 3 years ago when Scott broke his back, he got bucked off and broke his back.
Oh, wow.
And there we went from his steady income plus the ranch to no income. That is when I realized we were I think I would say your typical American. We were living paycheck to paycheck.
Sure.
And we weren't broke. We didn't have a lot of debt, but we had debt. But when you all of a sudden have no income, life changes, and you have to figure out how to survive.
Sure.
Losing a big chunk of life, an income that just goes away.
Right.
And so when we started looking at the stress that our marriage was under, and then I would meet with bankruptcy clients, and I started looking at the stress their marriages were under, and I started doing a little bit of research about, how come we're fighting all the time over money, even though it's really not an issue. It's the way we are raised as an issue.
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, I can't imagine going through that. I can't imagine breaking my back, number one, and then the stress of going through it together as a family. That had to have been a difficult time. I'm glad to see that you guys are kind of coming together and have grown from it. I mean, it's great that it's horrible that something bad like that happened, but it's great to see when people like you and your family kind of come together over those situations and grow together as a family and learn and develop. And is it fair to say that Why I Budget would not have come about had that not happened?
It's very fair to say it would not have come together. And I guess it's one of those mindsets again. You can either take a really bad experience and make something positive out of it that you learn and grow from and are able to teach other people about,
Sure.
or you can just dwell in it and let it drown you and your family and your relationship.
Sure. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. How have you seen the budgeting piece helping other families and other clients?
So, so do you know that budgeting is a big word nobody likes to
It
use?
is. I don't like to use it. I
It
don't want a
is.
budget.
I don't want to budget. I don't want to budget.
Yeah.
So we really don't look at it as budgeting, even though it's why I budget. We look at it as a way to freedom.
Okay.
So when we set up your budget, and this is going through the Hills of How, that's the third e-course you can take. But we look at, there's options. There's so many options out there about getting out of debt. And the thing is people, they don't want any more information on budgeting. And I agree. I didn't want any more information on budgeting.
Sure.
Budgeting and weight loss have tons of information out there on them.
Right.
I want a way to become financially free. And that's the roadmap we put in place. And that is why I Budget teamed up with the Money Multiplier.
Okay. Perfect. Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about that? The money multiplier. What exactly is that?
So the Money Multiplier is another roadmap that we take you through. It's more of like a marathon, but we go in and we show you how to leverage the debt that you have in order to pay off other debt through other avenues that have been around for generations. I mean, it's basically the tools that the wealthy use that we have had no idea about, that your parents didn't know about, I didn't know about, that you're not taught about in school.
Sure.
But once you learn how to leverage the right tools to build wealth, it changes your whole financial future.
Wow, that's amazing. And how have you seen that work in people's lives since you've started?
So since we've started, it's been like a ripple effect. You teach one person who is so excited about it, they go out and teach another, and then they're excited, and so it's really a ripple effect, because by the time my goal when I done, I want my kids and their kids and their kids to know how to leverage money. The journey to becoming your own banker is what I call it, and having not only me but generations to be financially free and not be burdened by debt.
That's amazing. It's so impressive. And it's interesting that you bring up the fact that you want it to be generational, because it's been interesting to study as I was in law school and in bankruptcy and in other areas of my life. It seems that oftentimes, that, like you mentioned, we aren't taught these things in high school, in school. A lot of these things I wasn't taught in college even. And people will get in a certain, almost a circle, and they don't change that mindset. They don't change their spending patterns. They don't change their ideals about finances or budgeting or, working, playing, any of these things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad to see. And so I really appreciate people who are willing to put themselves out there like you're doing and try to help other people to get out of that kind of that circle and help them find wealth and success and kind of a better way of life and a better future. So
Right.
You're definitely to be commended for doing that. Now, who is your primary client, and what do they look like? Who should come and talk to you?
Who should? Anybody that has control of their own money. My
Yeah.
primary client is anybody who has a desire to want to know the tools that they need to take that road trip to become financial free. If you're comfortable and you're living life and it is not your desire, then that's your choice. You're probably gonna stay in your comfort zone. I'm pushing people out of their comfort zones.
Sure.
I'm teaching them a whole new way of thinking. And I think that's what it comes down to is the why. You have to change the way you think in order to become financial.
What do you mean by that?
There's a great video out there, and it's called The Backward Bicycle.
Okay.
And basically, you're retraining your brain and the way you have thought about money, probably from the time that you could ask in the grocery store if you could have a candy bar. Because you're changing all those generational patterns.
I still ask in the grocery store if I can have a candy bar. I'm always asking.
No, Justin, you can't. Oh, I'm sure. Go ahead and buy it.
Okay.
So no, it's just we're just changing the way people perceive money and the way they use money and the way they control their money instead of letting money control them, and they control their emotions around money.
I love it.
And then when they get to that other financial journey with the money multiplier, we're teaching them how to basically become their own banker.
Okay.
That is the main goal. By the time we are done, is that they will be their own banker.
I mean, I'm sure it's extremely complex, probably way beyond the scope of this call. But how does one become their own banker in kind of a nutshell? I mean, that sounds great to me. Every city I've ever lived in, every city I've ever traveled to, the biggest and the tallest and the most beautiful building in that city is always a bank. So to be my own banker and not have to pay the bank sounds great to me. I love that idea.
Well, let me ask you this. When you have money come in, who do you pay first?
My wife.
Well, that's a good one. You should keep that one going. Okay. You pay your wife. Then what does she pay?
Well, we go through, we pay our bills, we pay our food, we pay, gas on the car, whatever, the kids. We've got some kids, and they always have sporting activities or other activities going. So those types of things.
When do you pay yourself? When do you pay you?
I need to pay me first and foremost, but unfortunately, oftentimes I get paid last. So
you probably don't get paid at all.
Yeah.
So,
after the kids are paid, there's nothing left for me.
Right. The question that was asked to me is if I felt I was worth $1 an hour. And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, well, are you worth $2 an hour? And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, are you worth $2.50 an hour? And I feel like I'm worth more than all of that combined.
So $5 an hour?
But so when you broke it down to me and we started looking at how much I needed to leverage to pay myself in order to pay off my debt, and I looked and I was like, wow. And this is where I go to, like, we have to change the way you think, because I know my value. My value is worth more than $2.50 an hour.
Sure.
And that is where you go in and you change the way you think, so you can leverage money to pay yourself first, to pay yourself to get out of debt. It's all about the mindset and being able to change your vibration and the way you think and the way you leverage money.
Change your vibration. What do you mean by that? I love the sound of it.
So negative energy sends out negative vibration.
Okay.
So the minute you have a thought that enters your mind, I'm always broke. I can't afford that. Sure. We can't do that. You can't have the candy bar. Mom can have a candy bar. No. Why not? Because I'm broke.
Sure.
We send all that out into the world. We send that out, and we send that energy out to our children.
Yeah. Turn the lights off. Close the door. I don't want to AC the outside. Close the door.
Right? Oh, so one of the ones, and I'll just make this quick, but my husband used to say, close the fridge door. You just take a picture. Nothing's going to change when you open it back up.
Yeah. Yep. So, I heard that all the time growing up.
Close the fridge door. Anyway, that's funny. I always laugh at him when he's saying, close the fridge door. But if you change the way you think at things, or, if a kid comes to you and they want a big purchase, instead of saying, no, we can't afford that, then change the vibration of it. Say, man, that is a good goal to have. Let's see what we can do to set that goal and then work towards it. Instead of just cutting it down and sending out energy, no, we can't afford that, no, we're broke, then just be like, yeah, I can see you want that. I can see that that is something big on your list. Let's put that out there as a good goal, and we will work towards it and come up with the money for that.
That's awesome.
So you're not like all of a sudden living outside your means because you're saying yes to everything.
Sure.
That's not what the intention is. The intention is just to change that vibration.
Right.
You know.
I love it, and I love the fact that you said, okay, let's make a goal of it, and let's figure out how we're going to get to that point, how we're going to achieve that goal. I love that. That's something I'm trying to institute in my own house with my own kids right now. My boys, they always want everything they see, they want, of course. And so right now they want a motorcycle, and so they have a goal to save up towards their motorcycle, and they've got this motorcycle jar, and it's been interesting to see them kind of working towards that goal, and they haven't acted frustrated that they can't get it because they're working towards it, and they know eventually they will get it.
They've created momentum, and once you start that momentum, then the universe just kind of has to follow because the momentum started. But if you were to, instead of saying, hey, let's set this goal, you guys help us raise the money for it and we'll go ahead and get it, if you would have said, no, we can't afford it right now, boom, the momentum stops, and you have no vibration to go off.
Goes nowhere from that point.
Yeah.
Huh. I love it. That's great. I love it. Well, Mara, you've mentioned rodeo. What else do you like to do? Or is that all you like to do? What do you do in your spare time?
We rodeo. No.
Rodeo?
Well, we rodeo and we ranch. That's about it. We live, well, you live in St. George. I live up in beautiful Bear Lake, and so we have the lake.
Yeah.
It's really cold here in the winter, so we ski during the winter.
Perfect.
But what I really like to do is I like to help people, Justin. I really like to see people succeed financially.
That's awesome.
And I think it's because I remember those stressful days. I remember those stressful nights.
Sure.
I remember, just thinking about buying the whole family dinner at Arctic Circle would give me a gut ache. And I'm just like, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Gut ache in more than one way.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be that way. And just doing some of the little things in life, like changing your thought process and changing the way you spend money and you recapture money. Just add one extra step into the things you've been taught, and it'll change the way you move forward and your kids move forward with money.
One of my favorite speakers is Jim Rohn, and he famously is always saying, if you change, everything will change for you. And I think it's amazing. He talks about when he was in his early 20s, for his first 5 years of his financial life, he ended up broke. And he says, had I not changed the next 5 years, I would have ended up broke again. Everything would have been the same. If I don't change, then of course I'm going to have the same outcome. So I love that, your focus is on making minor changes. And it's really interesting how even little subtle mind, thoughts in your mind and mindsets will completely change the trajectory of your financial future and your happiness. Of course, money does not bring you happiness necessarily, but in life in general, having a little bit of a better mindset about life in general and seeing the positive things. So that's really cool. I really like that. So what would you say, Mara, who are your biggest mentors, and what are some of the best books that have really shaped your mindset or made the biggest impact on your life? up to this point?
Up to this point, the biggest book, and that's kind of what you're going off of,
Yeah.
is Harv Eker,
Okay.
his Millionaire Mind book,
What's it called?
and the Millionaire Mind.
Okay.
And that's what he really, really concentrates on, is your inner world creates your outer world. And what's funny is raising teenagers, when they're having problems, I always say, well, it's your inner world is creating your outer world. If you don't like what's on the outside, you better change what's on the inside.
I love it.
And it's the same no matter what, if we're dealing with relationships, if we're dealing with money. It doesn't really matter what we're dealing with. It could be my kids dealing with each other. If they have an inner emotional issue with their sibling, their outer world's going to show that.
Right.
So if you're having an inner struggle with money, your outer world's going to show that.
Right.
So when we come back to the budgeting becomes so much easier if there's not a conflict on the inside.
Right. Makes sense. It makes perfect sense. In fact, it reminds me, just this morning, my boys were playing Minecraft together, and my 8-year-old had a meltdown when everything fell apart on Minecraft, and really the only thing that helped him was when we started making jokes. He changed his inner thought process, and he was able to kind of overcome and get out of this meltdown that he was having over Minecraft. So it's it's interesting that I was able to see that firsthand here this morning. But it's so true. I've noticed that when I get in a funk, if I just let things, one thought will lead to another, and it'll spiral a little bit, and I'll go deeper into the funk. But if I choose to be optimistic and look at kind of the bigger picture and what is going to bring more happiness to my life and the life of those around me, my family, my friends, whomever I associate with, the people that come into my path at the grocery store or the gas station, then it's amazing how I feel happier and I feel like I'm able to kind of bless other people's lives more. So it's really interesting. I love it. I love it. So who has been your biggest mentor over the years?
Over the years?
Yeah. Or most recently, whoever you like the best, I guess. Who do you follow?
Who do I follow the most?
Yeah.
I follow a lot of people, but I'm gonna. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to say this because I hit my knees a lot. So if you had to ask me who my biggest mentor is right now in my life, I would have to say it's Heavenly Father. I mean, every time I seem to be stuck, I turn right to Him. And I know there's a lot of people out there, but man, right now, He's right at the top of my list.
That's awesome. That's great. It's great that you feel that, and
I'm like,
you have somewhere to turn, right?
Yeah.
Great to have that.
I mean, there's a lot of people on this earth that have totally guided me.
Sure.
And I don't want to discredit them, but man, when things are tough, he's the ultimate go-to mentor.
That's awesome.
Even though some of the lessons I've been learning have not been fun.
Yeah, it's not always easy, right?
Right.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you recognize that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's been kind of an interesting journey, but
yeah. Well, it seems like things are going well, and that the journey is taking you in the right direction. So we're all lucky as a result. That's great.
So yeah.
Well, good. Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on the first ever Conquer podcast. It's been amazing to talk to you. I love talking to you and learning a little bit more about kind of your mindset and why a budget and why you've decided to pursue this path. And I think that there's great things in your future, and I'm excited to see where it takes you and where you go from here. So it's extremely exciting to see. But I really, really appreciate you coming on. Listen, how can people find you? What is the best way to find you? What is the best way to contact you? How can you be reached?
So the best way to reach me is through the website, and that is yibudget.com. Or they can also send me an email at yibudget@gmail.com.
Okay.
And those are the best two ways to reach me right now, because I'll probably be on my horse. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, perfect. Well,
It's
sounds
summertime.
like a rough life. I wish I was out on my horse.
Oh,
If only I had a
that's the
horse.
best.
Well, that's
Yeah,
great.
you
Well,
should come
thank
ride
you very
horses.
much for taking the time. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It was great to talk to you. So thank you so much, Mara.
Well, thank you. It was great.
Yeah, thanks a lot.